There was a tower, there was a door, and there was a girl who walked inside and was never seen again. No trial, no burial, no grave, just silence and stone. For 20 years she lived up there without freedom, without sunlight, without a name on anyone's lips. They called her wild, shameful, tainted, and so they locked her away until the singing began. Asterisk, she was born in the back room of a convent. Not because her mother was a nun, but because her mother had been disowned. The girl's first breath came in shadow among old stone and damp straw. While outside, the village bell rang for someone else's wedding. Her mother named her Alira, which meant freedom. But freedom was the one thing she would never have. Her father was a man of power, not a king. Worse, a land baron. A man who owned people without calling them slaves. A man who loved control more than kin. Joira was his only daughter, his only shame. She was raised in the east wing of the estate, a wing no visitors entered, a wing where the windows were narrow and the light rarely touched the floor. She was allowed to speak to no one but a maid named Hannah, a woman with tired eyes and a broken back, who hummed old lullabies in a language no longer spoken at 6. Alira asked why she could not go to market. At 8, she asked why the other children ran free while she sat behind iron lattice. At 10, she stopped asking. She began drawing towers in charcoal. Asterisk, he was a scribe's apprentice, a boy sent to copy land deeds and count sacks of grain. His name was Tomas. He was 16. He wasn't supposed to look at her. He wasn't supposed to know she existed. But sometimes when the Baron took visitors down the long hall, Tomas would glance toward the shadows. And once, just once, he saw her face. She was staring through a narrow archway, holding a piece of charcoal like a wand, drawing something invisible in the air. Their eyes met. Alira didn't look away. Neither did he. The moment passed, the hall turned, and Tomas kept walking. But something had changed. He came again the next week, this time with an extra loaf of bread. He dropped it near the archway, said nothing, left quickly, and she was there again, watching, waiting a second week. A ribbon, a third, a folded page with a line of poetry. He didn't know what he was doing, but he felt that if she disappeared, a piece of the world would vanish with her. The maid Hannah warned Alira, whispered that she was being watched, that the Baron would notice. Alira said only one thing: "I want to know what the world smells like beyond this wing." That night, Tomas left her a sprig of lavender. The next morning, she was gone, not vanished, imprisoned. The tower door was sealed with stone, and no one spoke. Her name again. The tower stood behind the estate, past the withering orchard and the crooked cemetery wall. It was once used to store grain during the famine years. Now, it was a tomb with no corpse. Alira was taken there before dawn, carried like contraband through the frost-bitten grass, wrapped in a wool cloak that didn't belong to her. She did not scream, she did not cry, but she looked at the sky as they sealed the door, as if to memorize the shape of the clouds. The stones were set by hand, mortared thick, not a cell, a vault. They left her a chamber pot, a stool, and a single slit in the wall for air. No fire, no food, no books, no light. Her name was never spoken again. When Tomas returned, the hallway was empty. The ribbon he had given her lay, folded on a table, untouched. He asked nothing, said nothing, but the old steward saw the questions in his face. "It was a mistake," the man muttered. "Mistakes must be erased." The tower became part of the landscape, covered in ivy. Forgotten in maps, but sometimes at night on cold winds, someone heard humming old lullabies. In a language no longer spoken, spring came. The plum trees bloomed again. Birds nested in the eaves. Children ran barefoot through the fields. But the tower remained silent. Inside, Alira counted the days by the warmth of the air through the slit. By the length of the light that shifted across her bare feet, there were no candles, no clocks, only breath and bone and time. she spoke to herself. In whispers, then in song, she named the spider that lived in the corner. She called it Unsell. She told it stories. She made friends with shadows, danced with dust motes, prayed to a god that never answered. The first winter was the worst. The wind howled like wolves, her fingers cracked, her feet bled. She dreamed of fire, of soup, of Tomas. But dreams are cruel companions. They leave you colder when they go. The seasons cycled. Her body changed. Her voice deepened. Her hair grew until it touched her knees. She forgot the sound of her own name, and still she sang. It was a passing monk, a traveler from a distant monastery, sent to collect alms for a leper's hospice. He walked the path by the tower just as the sun was setting. When wind moved the ivy like a curtain, he heard the voice before he saw. The stones, it was soft, melodic, a song without words. He froze, turned, stared at the wall. The melody drifted from the slit, that narrow scar in the stone. He approached, slowly, as if nearing a shrine. He listened. Then, without a word, he left. The monk returned the next morning, and the next, and the one after that. Each time he knelt beside the tower and listened. He brought food wrapped in cloth, water in a jug, and a small wooden cross, not to convert her, but to let her know she wasn't forgotten. He didn't ask who she was. He didn't try to open the tower. He simply came and listened. And when he returned to his monastery, he told the story. There's a girl of stone and music, a forgotten one, but she sings. The monk's tale spread farther than he ever intended it, passed from whispered prayer to drunken fireside murmur, from the hospice to the tavern, from the tavern to the priest, from the priest to a storyteller who embroidered it with stars. They called her the stone songstress, a legend, a ghost. Some said her voice could cure fever. Others said she had no face, only sound. But those who walked the trail and paused in the right place heard her. Herders' midwives, a child who had run from a beating, even a passing nobleman who ordered silence but returned. Alone a week later with bread in his coat, no one opened the tower, but people began leaving things. Apples, scarves, a dried flower in a jar. Alira never saw them. Each offering brought new warmth to her song. The spider Unsell passed. A mouse became her new companion. She named him Bell. Years passed, and still she sang, not with hope, but with rhythm, with habit, with memory. The song was her language, her rebellion, her breath, and outside, the world slowly began to remember. She came with a basket of apples. Her hair was gray now, her back still bent, but her eyes, tired as they were, sparkled with purpose. It was Hannah, the maid, the only one who had ever held Alira as a child, the only one who'd whispered to her at night. She had been cast out years ago, banished for speaking up, for saying too much, for refusing to stay quiet when the tower door closed. But she hadn't gone far. She had waited, watched, worked in another town, listened to tales of the stone sirs, and now she had returned, cloaked like a peasant, with bruised feet and trembling hands. She knelt before the tower, placed her ear to the stone, and the song was there, fragile, familiar, a lullaby from long ago. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She stayed all night in the morning. She left and came back with bread and warm cloth and a letter hidden in the folds every day. She returned. She did not beg the Baron. She did not raise her voice. She simply waited, and behind the tower wall, Lyra began to hum with hope. One morning there was no song. Hannah came with warm bread and a blanket sewn with lilies. She waited. She listened. But the stone slit offered. Nothing, no melody, no whisper. A panic rose, like a tide. She placed her ear to the wall, knocked, cried, begged. Still silence. Word spread fast, faster than anyone expected. The villagers, the monks, even the storyteller with his silver tongue, they came. A crowd gathered at the tower's base. Men climbed ladders. Women wept. Children whispered, and then Tomas returned. Older now, leaner eyes like flint. Pushed through the crowd, pressed his hand against the stone. I know that silence, he said. I caused it once. He turned to Hannah, to the faces staring back. And for the first time, he said her name aloud. Elira. It was like an incantation. The sky shifted. The wind stopped, and from deep within the stone, breath, weak, shallow, but real. She was alive. It was Tomas who stepped forward first, not with a hammer, not with a torch, but with trembling hands and quiet resolve. I need a mason, he said, and the Baron be damned. The villagers hesitated. Then, one by one, they came forward. An old man who once carved gravestones, a young woman who had stacked bricks for barns, even a child with a chisel, eager to help. They worked. Through the night, the stone was thick, mortar, stubborn. Each layer peeled back a part of history long buried. Inside, Elira waited. She no longer sang. Her body was weak, her hair like shadow, her eyes nearly blind to the light. But when the final stone fell, when the air rushed in, she did not cry. She blinked, slowly, as if remembering how. Then she whispered, "Is it spring?" Tomas stepped inside, did not touch her. He knelt, and she smiled. Outside, the people stood silent. No one cheered, no one clapped. They simply watched a miracle unwrap itself in breath and bone. The tower had opened, and the world felt changed. Elira stood at the edge of the stone threshold. For a moment, she did not move. The wind touched her skin like something unfamiliar. The light kissed her cheeks like a stranger. She stepped forward, slowly. Her bare feet touched grass for the first time in 20 years. Her breath caught at the sight of sky, wide, endless, tender. She looked at the faces around her, not with fear, wonder. And they, in turn, looked at her with something close to reverence. Not as a cursed child, not as a shameful stain, but as a woman who had survived and sung through silence. Hannah reached for her hand. Tomas wept quietly. The villagers cleared a path. Flowers were laid. Bells rang in a distant chapel. Elira walked slowly into. The world, not all, would accept her. The Baron would fume. The old church would scoff, but the song had already been set loose, and no door could unring it. Elira smiled once more, not because she was free, but because they finally listened. Fade. Too black.